Alright, let's talk about static assets with Express. Now, what are static assets? Let's go ahead and take an example with medium.com website, and I'm going to open up my console so that we can inspect the request that the browser is making. So right here, I'm just going to switch to my network tab, and I'm going to select all right here. Alright, so if I refresh, if you check out, the first at the top is medium.com. Alright, and this gives us the HTML for this website. So the browser makes a request to the medium.com servers, and the server responded with a 200 with the HTML for that page. But that page depends on CSS, and it depends on fonts, and it depends on images. So the browser has to make more requests to get these files. So the first thing it did was actually make a request for my image. You can see right there. And then it also made a request for the CSS for this page. So you can see right there. It also made a request for some other CSS, JavaScript files. Look at that. It made requests for all of those files. Now, the Medium server also has to respond with all of these assets, right? So that's what the server does. And you can see the preview of the assets that were responded with. So assets basically are stuff like JavaScript files for the client side, CSS files, and image files that the browser needs to actually display the website. Okay, so how do we serve static files with Express? Right now we can serve HTML files, right? So why don't we do this? Right here, I'm going to create a public directory, and in here I'm going to be putting all my assets. Okay, so I'm just going to come to the index.js file right here, and the way we tell Express that all of the assets should be put in this public directory is by saying app.use, and we are going to call a function from Express itself, and this is express.static, and we'll give the directory name, which is going to be public. Alright, so this looks a little bit weird. This app.use is a special function that we use to increase functionality with Express. Okay, and we're going to talk about it in a later lesson. But what is important is this express.static function. And this is going to tell Express that any request coming from the browser asking for an asset, it should get it from this public directory. Okay, so let's go ahead and see an example. We are going to come to our index.html file, and we are going to link a CSS file. So we're going to say css/index.css. And this is saying we should go into a CSS directory and an index.css file, right? But remember that our assets are loaded from the public directory. So this CSS directory is going to be in the directory where our assets are loaded from. So inside the public, we're going to have a CSS, and then we're going to have an index.css file. So right now, let me just say the body should be a background color of red. So that's how we are going to know if this file is actually loaded. Okay, so you can see that this file depends on an asset called the index.css file, and that file is located in the CSS directory in our public directory. But we've told Express that if the browser is requesting for any assets, it should get it from the public directory. So Express knows how to give back the browser this index.css file when the browser requests for it. Okay, so let's go ahead and say node index.js. Alright, so if we go back to our app right now and visit the home page, remember we loaded that asset in the home page. If we refresh, great, look at that, the background is red. And let's inspect right now to see exactly what the browser requested for. So if I refresh again, you can see that right here, the first thing the browser requested for was the file itself, right? So it made a GET request, and then the server responded with this localhost file, which contains the HTML, if you can look at it. Now, it also made a request for this asset, which is the index.css file, because that asset was listed in the source code right here. So you can check out the source code of this file. It's requesting for the index.css file, and the browser made an extra request to get that from the server, and the server responded with that file. Okay, so if you're wondering why it's 304 right here, 304 is just like a request status that says that what you asked for the other time has not changed. Okay, so that's why you can see not modified right here. So our server is able to respond with assets. Why don't we try another asset? We can come in here, and we're going to have a JavaScript file. So I'm just going to say a JS directory right there, and this is going to be index.js. Okay, and then in this file, I'm going to have a script, and this is going to have the source to be equal to js/index.js. And notice that I'm saying js right here because my public directory is set to be the root in my Express application. Okay, so in this file, for us to know that it's working, I'm just going to say console.log, and I'm going to say the index page. Okay, so we stop our server, start it again, and then come back and refresh. And if you can check right here, it made a request to that index.js file, and it was successful. If you check out our console right now, you can see the index page. And don't be confused, guys. This JavaScript is for the client side. It's not our server side JavaScript. Okay, so that's why the console is this one rather than this one. Okay, so basically that's how we serve static files with Express. All we need to do is tell Express exactly where the static files are kept, and it's gonna serve it for us. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you up in the very next lesson.